Guys, my new favorite channel dropped a new video, and you know we're gonna do it. The video topic is actually over something that got a very popular creator banned on social media recently. I don't know if you guys know who Asmongold is, but he was recently banned for saying he does not care about the S-wordy opinions of third worlders. And my favorite channel, Basic Logic, just dropped a new video called Why Did Third Worlders Learn to Cry Racism? I'd love to see why he breaks it down, what his logic is behind it. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Before we start this video, I think this is a very interesting subject matter because we as Americans have been taught through USAID that we're supposed to care about all these other countries. We're supposed to care about the well-being of the less fortunate while sending billions and billions and billions of tax dollars overseas. And while our lives here in America could be improved with those same tax dollars, but I think this is going to be a very interesting video. So with that being said, I'm going to press play.
Over the last year, the town known as Orania has been going viral. Orania, for those of you unaware, is a lone, self-sufficient town in the middle of the arid Karoo region in South Africa. It was settled by Afrikaners, that is the descendants of mainly Dutch settlers, with the goal of preserving their identity. In a country that's been characterized by rampant crime, failing infrastructure, and overall decline, the Afrikaners of Orania were able to take a dilapidated plot of land with nothing else than their own grit, no government welfare, no subsidies, not even relying on a nation's power grid, and build that up into a nice place for themselves and their families, without having to rely or take from anyone else.
That's pretty impressive.
So naturally, the remainder of the country, which had the entire nation's territory, natural resources, and advanced infrastructure, and ruined it all, and didn't even care about Orania up until the Afrikaners made it into a nice place, have decided that they want a peace. They allege that the Afrikaners, by practicing their right to freedom of association, are actually a second form of apartheid, a town of racists for daring to try to preserve their unique identity and the fruits of their labor. They allege that they, as fellow South Africans, are entitled to Orania, and the Afrikaners must accommodate, or in other words, give them stuff. And if the Afrikaners refuse, the state ought to get involved and force them to. You see similar allegations all over the West. Arguments are made to justify why Westerners must associate with groups they otherwise wouldn't want to, why their resources, which they acquired through their own labor, must be shared with the third world, why their laws and customs must be changed to accommodate those who are supposed to be assimilating. But many have pointed out a strange irony. The people making these arguments and allegations against the West don't hold their own nations to the same standards. The West must be diverse, but their homes remain homogeneous. The West must redistribute their resources, but their homes do not. The West cannot discriminate against them, but they can against us. So what's going on here?
That was a phenomenal point. Why are we in the West supposed to accept everyone else's values, but when we deny them, we're the bad guy? A lot of people are currently mad at Bill Maher because he recently made a statement that said all immigrants that come to America must assimilate and they must accept American values, and that should be a non-negotiable. But a lot of these leftists and people who are showing outrage forget who was one of the first people to champion that ideology. It was actually Barack Obama. Go look at some of those old campaign speeches. The Democrats used to be a lot more pro-America than they are now. Now they're pro-immigrant, pro-invasion, pro-whatever society they let in, and we as Americans are forced to accept all these cultures. And to me, I think it's a bit disrespectful to America because American values is what makes America great. That's what makes America the best country on earth. Not accepting all these foreign cultures of these countries that these people come from and they spread it all around our nation. Now, do I think that people coming from different nations and having opportunity in America is phenomenal? Yes. But I think those people need to accept what makes America America and accept our holidays, accept our ways and leave the past behind. Because it's not on us to allow you to implement your third world country here. You should accept what we have in our country that makes us a first world country, that makes us the same, rather than celebrate what is our differences and allow all these differences and division amongst our people. And that's just my opinion. That may make me a radical, but I'm a very pro-America guy. So I think that anyone who comes to America has to be pro-America. I think it's absurd when people come from different countries and they say, death to America, I hate America and what it stands for. I think those people should be deported and thrown out. If you won't accept what makes America America and you want to push your foreign ways here, you got to get the hell out. That would make that a simple rule. I think that should be a non-negotiable, but that is extreme to some. So I'll keep that opinion to myself.
Is it just plain hypocrisy, or is there something more to it? That's the question this video will explore, and if you enjoyed, consider subscribing. Negative emotions. Fear, shame, regulate human behavior on the basis of three. Subscribing, it helps the channel. Societies regulate human behavior on the basis of three negative emotions: fear, shame, and guilt. Westerners follow a guilt-based society. Social regulation is primarily based on the psychological pain of breaking one's own principles, and only when that fails does law enforcement come in. While this is normal for the West, and many think it's normal for the whole world, this is the exception, not the rule. Guilt-based societies are only possible in advanced, often religious, and highly homogeneous societies, so that people's individual principles are close enough for there to be an understanding. Most societies are shame-based, meaning regulation is primarily based on the pain of social ostracization if one goes against the clan's values. Despite it being the most common, it still requires some advancement, and at minimum a homogeneous society, so that the same clans actually have power over the largest number of individuals. And lastly, the most primal form is fear. Fear-based societies are the least advanced and least conducive to a prosperous nation. But their advantage is that they work anywhere, regardless of circumstance. In fear-based societies, the only calculations are, if I do X, then others will hurt me, so it's not worth it. And if someone else does X against me, I will hurt them, so they won't do it. Such a straightforward system means you have no need for homogeneity. You can integrate whoever you want because values don't matter, only strength does. For obvious reasons, people don't like the system. It's inefficient and its might makes right. The issue is when you break homogeneity in a society so much to the point where aligned principles and clan values can't enforce social order, fear is automatically in charge. You can moralize all you want, it doesn't matter. When there are too many different peoples with competing value systems, it's what you get. It's the same reason we don't waste our time trying to moralize carnivores versus herbivores in the wild. Herbivores.
So I want to stop right there. That was very interesting. When you have people with a bunch of similar values competing, it turns into a fear-based society. And we do. I think we are in a time in American history where a lot of foreign religions, the Muslims, for example, are growing at a rapid rate. And I know a lot of people in politics, especially on the right, are against what they call the Islamification of America, because this is obviously a Christian nation. I believe that Christianity is the one true way, and I believe that Christianity should be protected. So I think that that's very interesting. I see a lot of this anti-Islam stuff, and again, I don't think Muslims are bad people, but I think that Christianity should reign supreme, and it should be the only protected religion here in America. And I know that, and I say this because it's very interesting, because in their societies that are typically not the Western societies, we would never be able to spread our religion there. We would never be able to open churches there. We would never be able to do any of that. Yet they come to our place, our home, and they can spread at a rapid, alarming rate. And that's very interesting to me. I wonder what that says about our society. You know, is that our guilt that he speaks of? Is that our guilt showing? You know, is that a threat to our advancement as a nation? Is that what he's getting at? You know, it's very interesting to me. Well, let me know what you guys think about that, because that part right there really stood out to me. It really stuck out to me. It's very interesting.
Waste our time trying to moralize carnivores versus herbivores in the wild. Herbivores put a lot of effort into being able to digest plants and create the necessary nutrients from it. It's hard work, requiring extensive specialization. A different animal, which is struggling to get the nutrients they want, could also maybe, over many generations, adapt to be able to produce those same nutrients as the herbivores. But that's difficult. Wouldn't it just be easier to just take the already processed nutrients forcefully? Is it immoral that some species have adapted to be carnivores? Is it immoral that some have adapted so much towards carnivory that they are actually fully unable to digest plants and have to prey on other animals to survive? When it comes to such situations, the question of morality is irrelevant. The only question that matters is if it's easier. Herbivores will be eaten by carnivores if they don't have the means to defend themselves. The same is true for the plants that the herbivores eat. Because others already worked hard to get something valuable, it's simply more energy efficient to take that than make it yourself. You can argue that if we were all photosynthesizing plants, we'd have the most energy efficient situation, as no energy would have to be lost in hunting or defending, and everyone would be able to self sustain. And that's true, but also irrelevant. Some are simply not capable of learning to photosynthesize. Some are capable, but get far greater immediate rewards by not doing so. Naturally, this concept extends beyond just plants and animals. Whenever you make something desirable that's hard to make, you are incentivizing others to take it from you, because it's easier to take than to make it themselves. This is true for valuable craftsmanship, for architectural wonders, for hard to extract resources, and for civilization itself. And if they don't share your personal principles, or they don't follow your clan's rulings, then they will act upon this principle.
Is what he is trying to say is that these people with foreign religions are coming to our nation because our nation, our civilization is better than theirs, and rather than make their civilization better, they want to steal our civilization by spreading their way over ours. Is that what he's trying to say? Because that's what I'm kind of picking up from this. And I'm sure that's probably obvious if that is what he's saying, but I don't know, guys. Like, let me know. Is that what he's saying? Because that's kind of appalling. I'm not going to lie. I never thought of it in that manner.
Not because they're evil, at least not in the way we define it, but because it's easier. You see, in fear-based situations, moral language doesn't apply. It isn't even comprehensible, which begs the video's original question. If moral language doesn't apply, why is it constantly used against the West in a hypocritical fashion?
Great question.
The answer is simple. Why do cats mimic the sounds of birds? The cat neither understands the sound they are making, nor do they understand the mechanism by which it gains the trust of birds. All they know is, by making those sounds, the birds lower their guard. Likewise, when they cry racism, discrimination, etc., they know they get resources, welfare, and preferential treatment by the authorities.
Wow.
They don't really understand why. If anything, they probably think it's stupid, but it works, so there's no reason not to. When Westerners who oppose this behavior try to lecture the Third World, demanding consistent standards, pointing out that they have no right to judge the West's history, when their own are often way worse, it's the same as a bird trying to teach a cat that the sounds they are mimicking are false statements.
Wow.
It's pointless. The bird's only concerns should be to maintain its guard and make sure other birds don't fall for it. That should be obvious. But there's one other, less apparent concern the bird must also consider. Given how complex its moral language and value system is, it's unlikely the cat would have learned to exploit it on their own, especially in such a short time period. So that begs the uncomfortable question of, who taught them? And what did they gain by doing so?
That was very interesting. That was very interesting. I thought it was interesting when he starts showing the examples of people using the inflammatory language to their benefit for resources. I thought that was very interesting. I don't know, guys. That was a very interesting video. And I like the question at the end. Who taught them this? Who gave them this idea? Who showed them this strategy that's to their benefit at the host country's detriment? See, because when he started off with third worlders or people coming from different countries, spreading their ideology and using inflammatory words to get people to let their guard down for resources, I was okay. My interest was piqued. But then when he pulled up the examples, all these examples, migrant worker awarded $23,000 for racial taunts. Black security man called slave by white colleague. BLM 90 million in donations. We ask that question all the time. Where's that money going? Germany's migrant organizations demand immigrant quota for state jobs. I mean, like, all of that stuff is of people non-native to these countries getting benefit. The BLM stuff is absolutely absurd because to me as a black person, what black person's life was improved by BLM besides the people who ran the organization and spent the money on their own personal benefit? I mean, there's numerous examples of this across BLM chapters all the way to the top to local chapters and state chapters all across this nation. It's actually absurd. I think a lot of these inflammatory words that people prop up as a shield to get people to let their guard down is honestly kind of inflated. I mean, a lot of the stuff they do is inflated. And I think that was one of the points he was making. Like, oh, racism, discrimination, et cetera, it's very interesting. And the fact that he's pulling up these examples of how people have used it to their benefit is eye-opening to me. And then not only that, you go from London to Germany, I mean, these are different countries. I mean, then you got the US, like BLM, like this is different countries. This is a global phenomenon. All Western countries that have all been screwed over by third worlders. I mean, we're watching a third world invasion of Europe right now. Europe's in shambles, and we as Americans don't want to go down that path, which is why conservatives are fighting tooth and nail to conserve American values in our ways. And me as an independent, that to me is appealing. I really like going places and seeing a bunch of foreign flags. The only flag I want to see is America's flag. So this to me is a very interesting topic. It's very interesting. I think he made a lot of interesting points, and the way I'm interpreting it, I'm kind of all over the place. You know, I'm seeing how this logic that he presented in this video can apply to numerous things across the spectrum. I mean, religion, immigration, etc. You know, it's very interesting to me. So I don't know, guys. Maybe I'm misinterpreting a lot of the stuff he said. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but it almost seems to me like we need to protect Christianity and we need to protect American values. I mean, these are things I live by. I want America to be America. I want America to put America first. That's why I'm America first guy. I don't like H-1B visas. I want strict immigration. I mean, we wanted mass deportations. That was one of the things that kind of led me to Trump. I don't really think we're getting them at the rate we want them, but I mean, at least the border's closed, you know? I guess, you know, but that's just a lot of the things I'm taking away from this. This was a very interesting video, as are most basic logic videos. I like the way he breaks things down. It gives me a different perspective, you know. I don't really think about these things in the manner that he presents them, I'll say. But yeah, I'll keep checking out his content, you know. I really enjoy it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll be back with some more content.